So I'm inside of the transportation center where I can eat my pizza. Um, this is like this location and the this location and the library are pretty much the only two locations you can sit at for a brief moment. The so the issue is that there is no internet here. They do not have wireless internet. And because of the way that I look and my belongings, this is a transient terminal, so people do have cumbersome belongings. Their belongings are cumbersome, but because I have like an open sleeping bag, and in a duffel bag, it kind of looks like I'm homeless, and that I've never been kicked out of here, but potentially I could be kicked out of here. There's a microwave over here. There's a microwave. There are tables, and this is for guests. There's vending machines over here. I mean, it's ATM. These are for guests. TVs up there that usually have in the past had the news playing. I am not trying to sound like a professional a news anchor or reporter, because this is bullshit, and I'm gonna tell you how it is. I'm telling you that I was assaulted, and after I was assaulted, they threw away my clothing, they stole my belongings. I rented a computer from the Rockford Public Library. They stole that computer. And because I rented it, I owe the library $350. I cannot use the library or utilize the library until that debt is paid. After they assaulted me and stole my computer and my guitar and other things, they filed a insurance claim, and the insurance company gave them a payout. They paid them out. And of course, none of that money was paid out in my name. I owned the belongings, but the insurance company gave them the money after they stole my belongings. I explained to the police department. I explained this to the police department, and no arrests have been made. I went to the Rockford Rescue Mission, the homeless shelter. I explained to them my birth certificate was thrown away, and I explained to them that I needed to get a job, and I need to go to the doctor because I need an emergency surgery and my tooth number 30. So I left. I left, and I went to another homeless prevention social service location known as the Carpenter's Place. At the Carpenter's Place, they did not offer me transportation, or they did not offer me transportation cards. I said I needed a birth certificate. They said it's going to take, they said come back in 15 days, and when you come back, you're going to have to volunteer. You get to volunteer for those 2 hours. And the only reason you have to wait for 15 days is because we already have volunteers that are scheduled. And so the next opening will be in 15 days. And I explained to them that I don't have the funds for transportation to get back here. And I asked if I can volunteer that day. And they said, no, you must come back, you must volunteer, and then we can help you with the birth certificate. I explained to them that I needed a birth certificate so I can get a job, as one of the proof of one of the forms of identification. And that getting a job is imperative to me getting out of this predicament. And they said that it doesn't. They did not care, or much less even understand how I am now having to wait, and then not only 15 days to get my birth certificate, but that puts me back well over 30 days before I get like a second interview, fill out my job application and whatnot, and because I can't go to the library, I can't like fill out a job application at the library and utilize their computers. And so the Rockford Rescue Mission didn't provide me transportation cards, and the Carpenter's Place didn't provide me transportation cards. The city of Rockford did provide me transportation cards in the past. However, they told me they were not going to help me again. So yesterday, I went. I had to go. Once I found out yesterday, and I found this information out yesterday that they do not have transportation cards for me. So I had to go and donate my plasma to get money to pay for transportation. I was able to get a free bus ride to the plasma center. They were able to take me there. And so I was stranded. Because I was stranded, I waited for the bus. I told them I'm stranded. I need to go here so I can get money. And the bus driver said, okay. So I went to the plasma center, and then it took, because it's my first time there, it took me 6 hours, and then I was paid for my time. I arrived to the Rockford Rescue Mission late, and because I arrived late, they told me I had to sleep outside. After being assaulted, after me being a victim, uh, after my stuff being stolen, and after my clothes being thrown away and everything, they told me I had to sleep outside. Now, I had a jacket. I did have a jacket. I do have a jacket. But if they would have told me to sleep outside regardless of if I had a jacket or if I did not have a jacket. And because so the Rockford Rescue Mission feeds you breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and so because I had to sleep outside, and they told me I had to come back today, in the middle in the afternoon, okay, in the afternoon, and because I in that time I starved. I wasn't able to eat. And so the Rockford Rescue Mission is telling you that you have to not only sleep outside, regardless if you have clothing for it or not, regardless of what time of the year it is, but you're also going to starve, and you might not be able to actually. And please return, but you might not be able to return. And so they told me they would help me with the birth certificate, but I have to actually stay at the Rockford Rescue Mission for them to help me with the birth certificate. Before I was assaulted, I was trying to get a birth certificate, but it's not like I could have picked up the phone at the house I was at my house, and asked them if they could help me with the birth certificate. I actually had to be homeless in order for them, and go there in order for them to help me with the birth certificate, which if they would have helped me with the birth certificate to begin with, I probably wouldn't be in this predicament because I would have had a job in an apartment. The reason for them to at the Rockford Rescue Mission, they ask you to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They have you fold clothes. They have you do chores around the building, and they tell you to go through like some kind of seminar classes they have in the afternoon, which all prevent you from getting a birth certificate and applying to jobs. Everything they do prevents you from applying to jobs and getting out of there. There are individuals. So I was told, I explained to them that I was $130,000 in debt, and that I would need to stay there for roughly 8 months to get on my feet. And the staff members there told me I could not stay there that long. However, there are individuals there who have resided at the Rockford Rescue Mission for well over a year, and in a couple circumstances, a couple individuals have stayed there well over 6 years. That's six. That's the number 6, the number after 5. And they told me I couldn't stay there for 8 months while I got out of this debt. And so that's the employees there have a criminal history. The person, what you wouldn't call like a CEO, who hired people who have criminal histories, past criminal histories, who have walked the walk, and so somehow by being a criminal and walking that walk makes you qualified to work at a homeless shelter. But the result is that, for instance, yesterday I was late, and I couldn't call them and let them know I was late because my telephone service doesn't work. The telephone I'm using right now, not only is the camera now cracked, but the service is canceled, And so they don't. So those criminals who work there as the staff members don't make the connection of why of being homeless and not being able to use a phone, use a telephone. Um, at the Rock, there is no First off, there is no telephone at the Rockford Rescue Mission. There's no telephone. I record. There's no telephone or a phone book. And I recorded, and I'll stop right there. At the carpenter's place, there's one telephone. They have the capacity to have multiple telephones, but they don't have a telephone book. They don't have a yellow book, like an open telephone book. They have like a binder with a couple phone numbers in them, so that's for social services, and that's it. So if you want to get a hold of your doctor or somebody like that, they don't have a telephone book for you. And at the carpenter's place, they don't have computers available for you to look these things up. They don't have the internet. They don't have the wireless internet. And so Rockford has what is known as a coalition for the homeless among Rockford, and many cities have what they call a coalition. But this coalition doesn't do jack shit for anybody, and because you need a computer and you need your birth certificate and you need transportation so you can get a job and get to and from your job, and you need a place to sleep at night. So that is an issue. In the Rockford Rescue Mission, if you're late because if you can't get transportation, you obviously have to walk. You have to use your own 2 feet, and because that takes a long time, and when the conditions are bad, it's impossible to walk. I mean, not every street in Rockford, Illinois, has a sidewalk for starters. So these people want you to do their seminars, do their classes, and all these things do not convert into a job. Okay, these things do not get you employment, do not get you an apartment, and a part of the coalition for Rockford, the Rockford Housing Authority only provides you housing if you have income. Now, most of the people who are homeless and in this situation are disabled, or are receiving some other supplemental income. So if you are not disabled and you're not receiving supplemental income and your whole life has crashed down, the Rockford Housing Authority, which is a part of the Coalition for the Homeless, will not provide you a apartment for a temporary apartment or provide a hotel for you. So if you are a victim of domestic violence, you must have a source of income. So that way the Rockford Housing Authority can find you an apartment. And the issue is that usually when you're a victim of domestic violence, you lose. When you are a victim of domestic violence and you lose your possessions in the process, you usually lose your job, and you're unable to get to your work. Like, for instance, my car was stolen, my clothing was in my car, and so my phone was in my car. All these things were Then they threw away my birth certificate and my personal mail, my personal information that I need, my verification information. And so the Coalition for the Homeless, they sit there and they don't give you the bare necessities to make you successful so you can get a job. There are no, and I'll stop right there and I'll go to the carpenter's place. The carpenter's place doesn't have any vendors who are hiring come into the building and approach the people who are homeless and try to help them with the job. They don't do any of that. And so the majority of people who are homeless here in Rockford have been homeless for a very long time, and they're not getting they're not getting the services that they are first off entitled to, that they might utilize and make their lives better. What everybody asks that the homeless person does after what the city is asking that the homeless people do is go to a treatment center. They want to treat the homeless people for a cognitive disorder, and that way the city is no longer liable for not providing a service. So they're wanting to treat the homeless people as if they have a disorder, regardless if they have a disorder or not. They want to treat you and diagnose you, and because you're diagnosed, you are not only one step closer to Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, but you're one step further away from being able to prove that the city of Rockford is purposely not providing services, basic services that equips you to enter into the job market and keeps you homeless. And once again, the majority of the homeless people here in Rockford are disgusting and are criminals. Okay, most of them are criminals, and they are bad for society. But there are several domestic violence centers that help out victims for domestic violence in Rockford, or they're supposed to help out. And what they do in my case is they tell me to go to the Rockford Rescue Mission. I've contacted these domestic violence help centers, and they've told me to go to the Rockford Rescue Mission. The police have told me to go to the Rockford Rescue Mission. And I asked the domestic violence help centers if they could help me file a no contact order. The person who assaulted me, I want to file a no contact order. They would not, and get this, they would not help me file a no contact order. They would not do it for me. The service providers, the helpers, the help they don't understand how after you're a victim of domestic violence, you don't have a phone, you don't have a car, you don't have clothing, so you don't have a computer, and that you can't access any resources, and your money's probably stolen too, so you can't access any resources, and you need somebody to do something for you. You need somebody to do the fucking work for you, and they wouldn't help with filing a order of protection and no contact order. And then I went to the legal aid, the legal aid for like a legal aid lawyer, a free government lawyer, and they told me they wouldn't be able to help me under these conditions, which I am on the top of the list to get help for these conditions, under these conditions, and so. Nobody was able to help me file an order of protection, a no contact order. And I was, in the incident of domestic violence that I suffered through, I was told previously that if I tried to file a no contact order, that I would be assaulted, and I would be arrested for trying to. I would be accused, and I would be falsely arrested, and it would be 2 against 1, stating that to the police. However, when I was assaulted, I got it on camera. I got the incident on camera. So after they approached me in my room and they assaulted me, and they called the police, and they told the police to arrest me. The police reviewed the video, and they did not arrest me. This has happened. I've been assaulted over like 10 times, and it has led to false arrest. It has happened so many times that I've spent the last several years dealing with this problem. And I've also, in the meantime, I've witnessed my grandmother getting assaulted by these criminals, and I couldn't do. And the police have not arrested these criminals. They have not arrested these criminals. So the police. So the Rockford Rescue Mission hires people with criminal history to take care of the homeless. They hire criminals to take care of the homeless. And so the criminals have told me to take my bed from the wall, have told me to take my bed, pull it out. They pulled out my bed into the middle of the floor. They threw off all my covers, and they screamed and hollered at me and yelled at me, got in my face. They cussed at me. They told me I had to put the bed back to the wall and put it all back together, just like they do in the military. And after suffering from trauma, after being assaulted, this is what they do to people who are victims who are suffering from trauma, who are victims of domestic violence. The Rockford Rescue Mission cussed at me, they harassed me, they bullied me, they belittled me, they threatened me, and so so that idea is important. I'm kind of losing my train of thought right now. So the Rockford allows criminals to mitigate the homeless, and then they also will not arrest the criminals who made somebody homeless. They will not arrest somebody who violated their parole. The person who assaulted me and threatened to hurt me violated their parole. They assaulted me. They threw away my clothing. They threw away my birth certificate. They stole my belongings, the other expensive belongings, and then they committed insurance fraud. And after they stole my belongings, they got paid by the insurance company to have my belongings after my belongings were taken. The police have not arrested them yet. So the police will not arrest the criminals who are employees at the Rockford Rescue Mission, and the police will not arrest the criminals who stole my belongings and threw away my belongings, and they will not. And the state's attorney will not file charges on those criminals. However, in the past, the state's attorney has filed charges on me after it was alleged that I was the one who was committing the violent act. I've never been charged. How do I say it? I have never been convicted of anything in my life. That's how I have to say. I've never been convicted of anything in my life. I have a clean history. If you look under my charges, because of these criminals, it looks like I've been handcuffed and processed, and then I've been released, and then the charges have been dropped because of this thing that keeps happening over and over again, and me being assaulted. And I've explained to the police that during this time, I've witnessed my grandmother getting assaulted, who was in a wheelchair. And the state's attorney has not prosecuted these people who have assaulted my grandmother. And it's led to it's elder abuse. I mean, and she had dementia, so her comprehension was not up to par. And so so I can put it in this kind of frame. If you have somebody working at a nursing home, if you have somebody working as a caretaker, and if they yelled at your grandmother or your mom or your dad, or like told them they couldn't use the bathroom or told them to help themselves, that person would go to jail for like 20 years. But at my house, the Rockford Police Department, the Winnebago County Sheriff's Office, and the state's attorney have all neglected the truth that my grandmother was assaulted. I have it on camera, and they have not prosecuted these people. And so it's led to and then it's caused, and because I reported these issues, I called the mayor. I called the mayor of Rockford. I called his office. I explained to him this is what's going on, and the mayor of Rockford himself called the police and told them to come to my house and tell them never to call him again, because all the things that I have been talking about, the mayor's job in Rockford is to make sure that these services are implemented and are working properly. And he hasn't done jack shit. He hasn't done jack shit except call the police. And after the police come, the police have green lighted the abusers, the domestic violent abusers who commit incidences of domestic violence, have only green lighted them and allowed them to commit more violent acts. And because the police have came to the house and said that have already previously came to the house, when they arrive back to the house, the mayor green lighted the police and the police green lighted the abusers, and it has caused and because I'm the one who says help, there's no help. And then they told me to go to the Rockford Rescue Mission, which then tells me to sleep outside because I was donating plasma so I could afford a transportation card, a bus card, so I can get to and from the fucking hospital, or so I can get a root canal. And then after I get a root canal, I would be able to go to work, and I'd also be able to get a birth certificate, and so I can apply for a job. But I can't work under these conditions because it hurts that fucking bad. and because I don't have a phone, the Rockford Rescue Mission doesn't understand how it's difficult for me to check in, and because and though I'm able to record the video and prove where my location was and what time it was, that wasn't enough for the Rockford Rescue Mission, because the staff there are criminals who have a criminal history, who don't know jack shit about how to get back on your feet, and the issue is that if you are a victim and you show up and you arrive to the Rockford Rescue Mission in the wee hours of the night, they sometimes will let you in. They told me but they sometimes will not let you in. So there's really no place to go here in Rockford, Illinois, after you've been assaulted. There's no guarantee of a location you can go to as a refugee, and so there's plenty. The capacity at Rockford, the Rockford Rescue Mission is not at capacity, and what that means is there's still a lot of vacancy. What that means is there's still open beds, there's still areas to sleep, and so there's no reason to tell somebody they have to leave. Such stringent rules that they have to leave and sleep outside if they're late due to capacity. That rule really applies to a high volume shelter where they have a lot of foot traffic, people leaving and coming on a daily basis. But the Rockford Rescue Mission, there's literally maybe like 70 people there. Not at most, not anywhere near that at this moment, and so they purposely said for a victim of domestic violence who's been assaulted to sleep outside after they're just trying to get a birth certificate. They're just trying to get so they can get a job, and once again, these homeless. The Coalition of the Homeless, they do not provide bus cards. They do not provide bus cards, and the city of Rockford does provide bus cards, but because I've already asked the city of Rockford twice, they said they cut me off. So I was left stranded yesterday without a bus card. My only option was to donate plasma. And because it took me 6 hours, the Rockford Rescue Mission told me I had to sleep outside. And they also, upon approaching, they told me to throw away my sleeping bag, and that's what. And they told me to throw away my sleeping bag, and then they after when they told me I had to sleep outside, it was my sleeping bag that I slept in that kept me warm. So they will, so that will happen. And so back to the incident of when I was assaulted. Before I was assaulted, I contacted legal aid, and I asked them to help me with an order of protection. I told them that the conditions in this house are very bad, and I need an order of protection ASAP. They said they would go to at their next meeting. They would discuss this predicament with me and see if they could help me. After they discussed with their other associates, they denied helping me file a no contact order, just a simple no contact order. They would not help me with, and I also explained that so that I guess that's really important, since I'm forgetting because I'm kind of forgetting my train of thought, is that I alerted the authority that things are getting bad at the house, and there was no response. There's no response, and the idea that's coming back to me now is that before the violent act occurred, I was told to spend all of my food stamps. I was told to go to the store and empty out my food stamp account, and I was told I was told to do that before I was assaulted, and that led up to me being assaulted. That because I didn't empty out my food stamps, that the level of animosity increased. And I informed the police department that this is happening, and that people are getting very tense around here, and the police department did nothing. They did not arrest these individuals, and these individuals are the ones who assaulted my grandmother, and these individuals are the same ones who assaulted me. I went over to my neighbor's house. And I asked to use the phone to call 911, because at this house where I was assaulted at, I was not allowed to use the telephone, or the stove. I couldn't even cook my own food, for God's sake. And so I went over to my neighbor's house and I asked them to I asked to call 911. My neighbor denied me the use of their telephone to call 911, and then called the people who assaulted me, and then I was and informed them that I was trying to call 911, and then I was assaulted again. And these people have been the Winnebago County circuit courts have allowed these people to go to court and commit perjury numerous times, and allege that I am a horrible person. With all this evidence that I have compounded, that has compounded, the court still wants to understand what the hell the problem is. And it will not arrest somebody who beats up on a grandmother who's in a wheelchair. They will not arrest somebody after a grandmother gets beat up and neglected. And they will not arrest somebody who violated this. Another person violated their parole. They were on parole wearing GPS. They violated the parole. They threatened to kill me. They assaulted me when I was laying down on a couch. Every time I was assaulted, now get this, every time I was assaulted, I was laying down, or I was laying down on my bed, I was sitting in a chair, or I was sitting on my bed. I was every time. I was until they ran up on me, got in my face. They ran up on me. They pushed me. They literally, like, from like 20 feet away, they ran up on me and pushed me. And the two times they tried to kill me, they came home with a baseball bat. And I was able to get out of the house without them assaulting me, but they were within an arm's length away from touching me. So the police say because there was no contact, but there was no contact during that time. It led to no arrest. But I think if somebody runs up on you, coming home with a baseball bat, and runs up on you and chases you around the house, I think they should be arrested. And the police said, well, there's no evidence of it. There's no evidence of it. And so the last time I was assaulted, I did get it on camera. They closed my computer. They began assaulting me and trying to close my computer while I was recording. And after they assaulted me, they said that I was going to go to jail. The police came out and they saw the footage and they asked if I wanted to press charges. And I said no, because I would be hurt if they go to jail. And so the person wasn't arrested. When it should be the police. The police should not ask a victim whether or not they should be arrested. The police should ask the victim, who has it on camera, like should just automatically arrest that person, and should have arrested the other person after all of this, after all this time. And so and once again, it's primarily, it falls on the police department. But I tried to file a no contact order. Here in this county, and I was denied help from legal aid for a no contact order. And after all this suffrage, it's really horrible how these people are behind. It's as if the mayor and the police department are behind the individuals who assaulted me, are supporting the people who assaulted me. Because once again, I called the mayor, and I told the mayor these social services are not working. The mayor called the police and told the police to tell me that never to contact him again. So the mayor green-lighted the police, and the police green-lighted the people who committed the violent crimes. And so that has led me to having my stuff stolen. That has led me to having to sleep outside. That has led me to being arrested and then released until the investigation had been completed. And then once they found out the charges, after all this time, you can, how many times does it take for the city to understand that, like, the same shit is happening and the results are the same, and that I'm not the one who's instigating anything, and I'm not the one I've never threatened anybody. I have never assaulted anybody. I've never instigated anything. And after all this time, how the police department have not arrested the people who have been. And that just shows you how some people can get away with committing a violent crime, and can just get away with it purely by lying to the judge and lying to the police. Even though it's on camera, they can literally lie to the police. And because I've gotten confessions on camera, but I've gotten confessions through the other I gotten confessions the criminal acts confessed by the third party, the other person. And in the court of law, that is what we call hearsay, and so it doesn't stand up in trial. So that loophole has made it difficult for anybody to prosecute, and so for the simple reasons of domestic violence. But there are a number of crimes that you can convict somebody on that surround domestic violence and perjury. They call it perjury when you lie to the judge and lie in court under oath. And so there's a number of things you can prosecute these individuals on, and it doesn't have to be regarding the assault and battery. But the state's attorney is not doing that. Is refuses to deal with this problem, and the majority of the people who are assaulted and victims of domestic violence, there is no arrest that transpire from that unless you have the physical contact on camera, which means somehow by magical virtue you must be recording yourself getting hit in the face. And so even if you get a confession, if you are assaulted and get a confession later, that doesn't matter if that confession isn't. It really doesn't matter. It's almost like it's like imaginary statute of limitations exists, and now there's a confession that there's no prosecution for that. This city has allowed my grandmother to get assaulted, and has allowed my stuff to get stolen, and then told me to go to a shelter and not provide me. That shelters do not provide internet, do not provide clothing, do not provide a telephone, and do not provide transportation, and do not provide help to get a birth certificate. And because I'm forced to donate, I literally, with no money and no resources, I have to donate my plasma in order to get to and from these other centers, and pay for a birth certificate, and get a job and go to the doctor, and because I was late trying to acquire these things, I was told to sleep outside, and it's very cyclic, and it just ends up you have to sleep outside, and you kind of have to start all over again, because the first thing you need is food and shelter before you're able to be successful. And so the city of Rockford is hiring the wrong people to deal with these services, and so you all are going to pay for it. You're all going to pay for it, because the amount of suffering that an innocent person has to endure for you guys to get your mind out of your asses is incredible. Because this has been a long time. It's been a long time, and you guys are inadequate. You guys are inefficient. You guys are denying the truth, and you guys are not the right. Men and women are not the right individuals to fulfill these roles to help these people out. At the shelters, they don't have a phone book, a yellow page phone book, so I can call my doctor. Okay, what they have instead, their minds are that there's a binder, and they print off a couple of numbers. In their minds, they think the homeless person just needs like one or two numbers, not like they're specialists, not like not the number to like to an employer, a potential employer, because with the phone book you have the entire list of all the big box stores. You can't, they don't expect the homeless person to pick up the phone and try to call for a job. they don't expect that, so it never happens. And there obviously that would be applaud, like people would applaud it with that statement. But these people are so ass backwards that if you're a victim of domestic violence and you're intelligent and you're able to get back on your feet, they prevent you from getting back on your feet. They tell you can only use there's one telephone at one of the locations that you can use, but you can only use that telephone for 10 minutes. And when you're calling your doctor and you're being placed on hold, that sometimes is a 10-minute hold, sometimes a 20-minute hold. We have been on the phone with our doctors, our healthcare providers, our insurance companies on hold for well over 30 minutes or 45 minutes. These offices have the capacity to implement more telephones and to provide internet and to reach out to vendors and have them come to the location and provide and to provide opportunities. But because these shelters are not helping you with a birth certificate, a driver's license, and they're kicking you out for being late because you don't have transportation, you have to walk everywhere. And it's like the vendors would come to the reason why the vendors don't show up is because they understand that that the homeless people don't have their credentials, because they understand that the Coalition for the Homeless providers, they're not providing the homeless with these bare essentials, so the vendors don't come out. And so it's like when I tried to explain this to the mayor, this information goes over people's head, and it's like these so I just want to say that everybody who works for this county is acting like an undergraduate. Okay, you're acting like a first year student, and you're getting paid $100,000 a year. And you're incompetent, and you are getting praised by the media, by the local news station. You are getting praised for the work that you've done, and you've done nothing. The problem still exists. You've done nothing. In the backing from the police department, you have backing from the police department that protects you and prevents you from any kind of liability on these matters. And the police department will arrest anyone such as myself for pointing out these flaws and who are victims of this systemic cyclic problem. And I have reached out to the media, I've reached out to the news, I've reached out to the newspaper, and I've only gotten backfire, I've only gotten backlash, because this information is so emotional, and when I'm telling the story, it's very it draws tears to the eye, and because of that, people cannot grasp the why is this happening? Why do we live in such an imperfect world? It's because you all are dumbasses, and you just don't do what I say, and because you're being defiant, and you're being defiant because nobody wants, for the sole reason that human nature is that nobody wants to be told what to do or how to do it, and that's true, and yet the city of Rockford will tell a homeless person what to do and how to do it, and they'll tell you this is, and it leads to no conversion. And they'll also tell you, the city of Rockford will tell you to go get mental health treatment instead of getting a job, even if you don't need it. And so it's ass backwards, and you're all gonna pay for it. You're all gonna pay for it. Okay?